Today, I wanted to share the 7 hard truths about stopping drinking alcohol. I want to talk about the hard things when you quit drinking. I spend a lot of time talking about the good stuff, the incredible benefits of giving up alcohol. But today, I'm going to share with you 7 hard truths so that it will actually help you quit drinking because it will make sure you don't get caught out. You'll avoid some of the pitfalls, some of the traps that are on that journey to becoming completely free from alcohol. Many people can struggle in sobriety simply because they don't know what can lie ahead of them. They're not prepared for some of the challenges that come up. So, by sharing these 7 hard truths about quitting drinking, I'm going to make sure you're completely set for success and totally prepared. I'm Simon Chapple and I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach. I was a heavy daily drinker for over 20 years. I would drink anything from 2 to 3 bottles of red wine every single day, often with beer and spirits on top. But I managed to change my life. I managed to break free from alcohol. And since then, I've gone on to become an author, a sobriety coach, and a speaker. I talk extensively about the benefits of living an alcohol-free life. But today, I don't want to talk about the benefits. I want to talk about the hard stuff, the things that are difficult, and some of the challenges that we nearly always face when we quit drinking. Hopefully, this will help set you up for success and allow you to experience all of the positive changes when you cut alcohol out of your life by making sure you're completely prepared. And I want you to experience the same things that I did when I quit drinking. So the fact is that there are elements of the process of quitting drinking that can feel tough. It's a fact. But if you're prepared well ahead, then you're going to find it much easier to navigate some of the difficult things that can come your way when you make the decision to quit alcohol. I often talk about how quitting drinking is just like learning a new skill. And there are always going to be areas that are hard and challenges. Just imagine if you were learning a new language, you're not going to be an expert at it the first time you try. But instead of just giving up and throwing in the towel and deciding not to bother learning it any longer, you want to keep showing up. You want to keep putting the work in. And over time, you become better and better. And eventually, you become fluent. You become able to hold a conversation in that language. Quitting alcohol is no different. There's challenges along the way. And there's going to be times, almost without exception, where you feel like throwing in the towel. But knowing that these things are to be expected and being ready and prepared for anything that comes up will ensure that you can embrace the tough times. And every time you do that, every time you overcome one of these challenges, you reclaim some of your personal power. Every time you do it, you grow a little bit stronger. You become a little bit tougher, a little bit wiser, and you just keep moving forward on that journey with a newfound motivation and a sense that you are achieving, you are moving forward. Now, there are plenty of other videos on my YouTube channel that will help you with just about every aspect of quitting drinking. And I also share a lot about the incredible benefits of living an alcohol-free life. So if you need more help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get notified every time there's a new video. And make sure you check out some of the other videos if you're looking for specific tips, tactics, tools, or support on the journey to sobriety. So let's look at the 7 hard truths about stopping drinking alcohol. The first truth is you have to commit to it. If you're not totally dedicated to making a change, then you may struggle on this journey. You've got to throw yourself into this. You need to learn and educate yourself. And that takes time and it takes a commitment. You need to read books, watch videos like this one, listen to podcasts, read blog posts, and actually immerse yourself in this, almost like you're learning a new skill or studying for the most important exam of your life. The more you do that, the more committed you are, the more you dive into this with both feet, the more excited and motivated you become. Make sure that you've got a clear reason why you want to quit alcohol. If you joined a gym, you'd have a clear reason why you had joined. Maybe you want to get a six pack, lose weight, just become fitter, whatever it is, you would have a reason. Make sure you've got a reason why you want alcohol out of your life. And make sure you're very clear and understand exactly what you stand to gain, not what you think you're losing, what you stand to gain. And that will help you overcome that. But you've got to be committed. There's no point sitting on the fence with one foot in each camp. You need to be in one camp or the other with both feet. The second hard truth is that you need to take personal responsibility for this. Nobody else is going to do it for you. There's plenty of help out there. There's coaches like me, and there'll be supportive people on your journey. And many people will help point you in the right direction, and they'll be there for you when you need them with sound advice, words of comfort, and motivation when you need it. But ultimately, you're an independent adult and you have to take responsibility for yourself. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. So don't expect other people to become your rescuer in this situation. Avoid playing the role of a victim. Instead, become accountable. Allow people to coach you, but avoid blaming other people and accept that you are the one who has the power. You have the ability to make your own choices, and you absolutely have the ability to make this change. The third hard truth is that almost everybody has setbacks on this journey. We almost all encounter slip ups when we try and quit drinking. It's almost inevitable. Just like, as I said, if you were learning a new skill or when you try and change a habit, there's going to be a learning curve and there's going to be times when you don't quite get it right. It's okay to make mistakes. It's how we deal with the mistakes that matters. Again, I talked about throwing in the towel. If you have a setback and immediately throw the towel in and give up on the idea, that's not going to serve you going forward. Yes, those sort of episodes can bring up some very strong emotions. You can have some very challenging feelings, and they can make you feel like you do want to give up on this. But for me, we only fail when we give up totally, when we throw in the towel. But instead, we should be focusing on showing up. Rather than just thinking about being alcohol free, focus on turning up every day and putting the work in, and the results will follow. I mentioned about learning a new language and how that is like learning a new skill. Well, if you were showing up every day and working on your new language, you're not thinking about, well, how good am I at this language? How's it going? You're more thinking about, if I turn up each day, put the work in, you know that the results are going to come. And quitting drinking is the same. So if you struggle concentrating on alcohol free days, start concentrating on creating a streak by marking down every day that you do it, put a chain together of how many days you show up and put the work in, and take the focus off of the alcohol free days. So even if you have a setback, so long as you do your work on that day, you can still put a mark on your streak that you showed up, you learned from it, you put your work in. Setbacks are an enormous opportunity to learn. They happen to almost everybody. You're probably no different from the rest of us, and each setback makes us much better equipped as we go forward. I speak to so many people who have setbacks. I had plenty of my own on my own journey to quitting drinking. And we always talk about what they've learned from the experience. What has the experience taught them? What's it told them? And when you can get into that data, setbacks can be like gold. They often help us. Without the setbacks, we can't refine what we're doing. We can't learn. We can't explore how we might do things differently, what boundaries we need to put in place to make ourselves become totally free and to protect ourselves from toxic people, situations, thoughts, or feelings, or behaviors. So use the setbacks as an opportunity to learn, but be open minded and keep your eyes open that they almost always do happen when we want to quit drinking alcohol. The fourth hard truth is that self discovery can be hard. When we quit drinking, we usually stop being the false version of ourselves that we've been for many, many years. In my case, it was over 20 years. I was wearing a mask. I was being somebody that wasn't the authentic version of me. Alcohol was my mask. It was my defense mechanism. I was projecting a version of me that was a wild party animal out onto the world, but that wasn't who I truly was. And when I quit drinking, the mask came off. I became much more self aware. And it was as though I was peeling back the layers of an onion on my life. After I quit drinking, I began discovering who I really was, what the real person looked like, who was underneath this phony behavior, who was underneath that mask that alcohol had put on the outside as some kind of fake defense mechanism. And we often have to look at things that exist in our shadow that we've never faced. We've kept them there for a very long time. And that's often one of the reasons why we turn to addiction in the first place. And it can feel hard when we start looking in that shadow. Our shadow is where we put the things that we fail to acknowledge about ourselves. And they feel like the hard truths about ourselves. Maybe it's that we're judgmental of other people, that we criticize people, and maybe it triggers us when people do the same to us because we can't face up to the fact we do that ourselves. So facing up to these hard truths of certain behaviors we have is actually part of the process to becoming completely free and at peace in our lives. It is really, really challenging, and you might even need some therapy or to work one-to-one with some kind of specialist to help you work your way through it. Therapy worked brilliant for me, but this is where the growth is. This is where you can become the strong, empowered version of you that really is free and at peace in your world. It's all about making the uncomfortable become comfortable. And although it's tough, it's a wonderful thing. The fifth hard truth is that you might just lose friends, maybe drinking buddies that you've associated with for a long time. But when we quit drinking, we tend to get new interests and take on new activities that actually bring true joy into our lives. And things like going to the pub all day starts to feel really, really boring. We tend to drift apart from certain people, especially those where the relationship was held together by alcohol. It starts to hold very little interest for us. But the good news is that we almost always discover some wonderful new hobbies and pastimes. And when we do that, we tend to make new friends. And these relationships aren't held together by alcohol. Alcohol is not the glue that bonds us. So we develop true, meaningful connections with these people that we engage with in different areas and different aspects of our lives. So we create really strong bonds with them, authentic friendships. But it might take a little while, and you might feel a sense of loss, especially if you've connected with people who you've drunk with on a daily basis. And you might even have drunk for confidence reasons, for self-esteem reasons. And it might take you a little while to find your feet. So even if you feel a little bit lost in the early stages, know that this comes. You've got to be patient with yourself, and you've got to allow time for these things to start coming together. But it does happen. It's not something you really force, but over time it starts to happen. You just develop a motivation and an excitement just to get out in the world and to start discovering new hobbies, new activities, new pastimes that really light you up. And when you do that, you inevitably start to connect with new people. Now, the sixth hard truth is that your sleep is probably going to be disrupted when you quit drinking. It's often in the early stages. It can be disrupted for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes even longer. For me, it was 4 or 5 days of disrupted sleep. I was tossing and turning in bed. There were a couple of nights where I woke up and I'd been sweating and the sheets were soaking wet from that. But when we're drinking, it's important to know that we're never getting the proper restorative cycles of sleep that we should be getting. And this adds to the feeling of being jaded and sluggish in the mornings after drinking. It really does hold us back. Often drinkers have got a lot of darkness around their eyes and they just feel lethargic. Obviously, there's aspects of this that come from the hangover, but also the poor quality of sleep is a big part of why drinkers feel like this. Now, as I say, it took me several days before my sleep started to rebalance. And after it did, I could not believe how good I felt when I was waking up in the mornings. I was literally bouncing out of bed instead of rubbing my eyes and not really feeling with it for most of the day and drinking copious amounts of coffee. And I was tracking it. I paid attention to what was happening and I noticed the improvements in my sleep. I took the time to set up my bedroom for sleep success. I made sure my mattress was comfortable, my quilt was correct for the time of year, that my curtains weren't letting in too much light, and that there wasn't any noise in the room. And also, if you do really struggle with sleep, you could even look at some sleep deprivation tactics in the early stages. Go to bed much, much later. Set your alarm really early, and then you'll be a lot more tired the next day. And you can soon get into a rhythm, which by doing that will allow you to start really needing sleep and falling asleep a lot quicker. Watch out for drinking caffeine in the afternoons. Watch out for some of the other things like using electronic devices or getting your heart rate up in the hour before you go to bed. And try and exercise during the day and eat well. Don't eat too soon before you go to bed. Take a nice bath not long before you go to bed and maybe read in the 30 minutes before you want to go to sleep. There's also some excellent sleep meditations that will probably help you. And the final hard truth is that we almost all suffer some level of withdrawal symptoms or cravings to drink after we quit. It happens to most of us. Now, bear in mind that around 90% of people are psychologically addicted to alcohol. Less than 10% of people, who are the heaviest drinkers of all, are physically addicted. So the chances are that you will probably experience a few physical symptoms. Like I mentioned, with the sleep and the sweating, you might experience shaking hands, or you might have a headache or feel a little bit of aching in your body. But most of the symptoms are going to be psychological, as in emotional and mental cravings due to the habitual compulsive behavior that we've been carrying out for a long period of time. Now, there's loads of tactics for beating cravings and dealing with discomfort right here on my YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and check out some of the videos. And it's important to know there's no point in allowing a craving to drink to overwhelm you, because you never ever end up back where you think you will. You think you're going to end up back like that person who was in their late teens or their early 20s, who was ignorantly blissful about their drinking. They didn't even realize they had a problem with it. But you don't go back there when you drink. You go back to a state of internal conflict where you still have your subconscious mind telling you that you should drink, your conscious mind telling you that you should stop drinking. And it's like there's a war raging in your head. You don't go back to ignorant bliss. And it's important to know that, because it effectively means there's no point taking a drink when you have a craving, because it's going to be just as painful, if not more painful, as sticking with the craving. And also, you might have found over the years that you've built up a tolerance to alcohol. Maybe when you were younger, it only took a couple of glasses before you started to feel tipsy. These days, maybe it takes an entire bottle. These cravings, the psychological cravings, you're not craving the drink you had yesterday, although that does play a part. You're actually craving the memory of how it used to feel, a memory of something that no longer exists, because your body and your brain have made you far more tolerant to alcohol. You're never going to get that, even if you do drink. You're chasing a memory, you're chasing an illusion. There's literally no point in drinking when you have a craving, even though your mind will try and convince you that you're going to get what you think, which is drinking with ignorant bliss and the same kind of hit you had the very first time you drank. You are not going to get it. And it might mean that you have to learn that along the way by having a couple of setbacks. But make sure you pay attention to it, because when you realize that, you realize there's absolutely no point. You may as well stick with the discomfort, use some tactics for dealing with cravings, get through them, claim back the personal power, grow stronger, and become free of alcohol for good. So that's my 7 hard truths about quitting drinking. But every hard truth has a silver lining. They are all going to take you down a path that will lead you to a much better life. Now, if you need more help quitting drinking, I'd love for you to read one of my books, The Sober Survival Guide or How to Quit Alcohol in 50 Days. Do make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would love you to become part of my community. And if you want more help, you can click on the link that's above my head now and visit my website where you will find tools, tactics, tips, and support. You can even grab a free sample of both of my books right there on my website. Again, I would love you to check that out. You can subscribe to my channel clicking the red box that's on the screen right now. And I'll look forward to connecting with you either here in my YouTube community or on one of the other social media platforms.